you have to give back to your body or that job will take from you more than it gives. And who wants to be 55 with $2 million in the bank and you can't do anything with it because your knees are beat up and your back's screwed up?
Now you're dealing with these fire departments. So
Sure.
you're dealing with lower end on the strength scale. I mean, what they bench, squat.
Yeah.
I say this hesitantly.
It
It doesn't really matter compared to what their skill set is.
What matters on them of being strong is increasing ligament, tendon, and bone density so they can withstand impact.
Yeah.
Because what you don't get is on a fire truck, when you step down off the last step, it's a 20-inch step with 60 pounds of gear on.
Okay.
So what's the force reaction on the ground on that? 450 pounds if a guy weighs 200?
Yeah.
So my point is we got to get them that strong to withstand the common forces that they deal with. That's why you get them strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about going, oh, all my firemen can deadlift 500. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
All of my firemen lower their injury rates, and now they can do their job better. That's what matters. And sometimes, a lot of times, because they're weak, getting them stronger is the key to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a double-edged sword because traditional strength training is not going to help as much as doing something smart. By meaning, if you're working with these tactical populations, one, you got to know where their structural weaknesses are. Two, you have to look at their stress levels and what they can handle, because you got to remember, these guys are running on people that are burning in buildings. They're smashed in cars. They're dealing with PTSD stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that can change this intensity level of the gym. And three, traction versus compression. Everything they do is compressive based. So most of the exercises that I have them do is traction based. So they do a lot of belt squatting, a lot of GHRs, a lot of reverse hypers, a lot of lat pull downs, because it's creating space. And because everything they do is compressive. And that is a huge factor to training tactical, whether it be military or fire, because of those particular issues of everything's high impact to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you have that big problem. And then the next thing that the fire service really needs updated on is their nutrition's terrible. They eat like shit. And we all know you can't burn off a bad diet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can lower their incidence of cancers and heart attacks, what they start saying is, well, these are the major killers of firemen. But what they don't tell you is it's not job specific. It's two reasons. They eat like shit and they sleep like shit. And on their off days, when they're supposed to have 48 hours of rest, they're doing 48 hours of construction work. So you tell me where they're getting a recovery. They're getting a recovery if by chance they don't get any runs at the firehouse. But on their off days, they're busting their ass on a construction job.
Mm-hmm.
And so why are they getting sick and tired and all these other problems? And so we try to go in there with a holistic approach and fix their sleep and fix their imbalances and then get them stronger. And I have some rules on that. Like we try to get everybody to double overhand deadlift 405 because they don't have straps and they don't ever get to really do this a whole lot with their tools. So I'm like, if you don't have the hands, it doesn't matter. And I like the symmetry on the spine. So if I'm pulling double overhand, I don't have that that twist, which over time, as you know, causes a lot of fucking problems.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other issue. A fireman comes in, let's say at 22. He has to be on duty till 52. And he has to be able to do the same fucking thing that he could do at 22 at 52. And powerlifting, fucking retire. When shit starts getting beat up like we did, you just stop.
Yeah.
They can't stop because their retirement and the way they're built, they got to last 30 years. That changes the scenario as well. Much more different than when I was working with Ranger Regiment and Special Ops guys. Most of those guys never make it to 33, 34, and then they opt out of something else because they can't do it anymore. So the training protocol, if somebody only has to last till 33, 34, is much different than somebody that has to last till say 55. Those are becoming the major factors on what you utilize and what you prescribe and how you train.
Then how do you get them to buy in? Because I understand the reason for the construction work. They don't make shit. I mean,
well, they didn't used to make shit. They make about $100,000 a year now.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's, and I'm not being a dick to my firemen. They all love me, but they want that new truck every year. They end up marrying people that are stay-at-home moms, and then they have 5 kids.
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
If you lived like a normal person, $100,000 a year, you can do pretty well. But a lot of it's just we get sucked into wanting more, and then all of a sudden we're working 70, 80 hours a week. And so that's what we try to help with. I'm like, guys, you need to build in this recovery because you're not going to be able to enjoy your retirement. That's how you get them to buy in.
Okay.
This is what's going to happen at 55 when you got all this money saved back and you finally can go do whatever you want to do, and now you can't do anything. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, dude. So like these guys lifting 400-pound patients and taking them into the hospital and doing all this stuff, you have to give back to your body or that job will take from you more than it gives. And who wants to be 55 with $2 million in the bank and you can't do anything with it because your knees are beat up and your back screwed up. And that's the problem is many fire departments hire in guys that are average capacity and then expect them to be the same capacity in 30 years with no physical training. It's not going to happen. I mean, if you and I didn't train, I'm 43 this year. I think you're
54.
54.
Yeah.
If we didn't keep working out,
I'd be fucking a wreck. I'm already kind of a wreck. I'd be a total wreck.
But now imagine your job is lifting heavy patients all day and going and taking runs and taking people to the hospital, and you're lifting them out of weird positions because they fell in the tub or between the sink and the shitter. You get my point?
Yes.
So the mileage on that, because it's awkward, is so high that everything that we have to do in the gym is low mileage, high benefit, high restoration. And that's the same thing with special ops guys. Is I know that I saw a question on there that did he actually train special ops? Well, I was an advisor for 3 years for 3rd Battalion Rangers at Fort Benning. SEAL Team 3 is on Patreon doing the workouts there. And I wrote everything for Israeli Special Forces back in the day, like 20 and 30 week cycles for them to train. So I have some experience with that. But the point is the thought process is the same. How do we get to this higher level with reducing mileage and fixing and correcting imbalances and postural weaknesses? If you have that mentality, you're going to do a better job than they've ever seen. You don't have to have everything. And that's the problem is no matter what you do, no matter what you know, no matter how much time and effort you put in, you will never make a perfect training cycle. You can't. You just can't. It's too many variables. And the more you start realizing, the higher education you get, the more you start realizing you don't know shit.
Exactly.
Like if you want to know that you don't know shit, go to the Swiss conference and sit into all these different neurological guys and hormonal guys and go, oh my God, I didn't understand any of this. And it's back to square one again.
Yes.
And that's the thing is I think the only way we would ever be able to make a perfect training cycle is if we stayed in our prime. Let's say me and you stayed at 29 years old for 50 years.
Yeah.
We would learn.
Yeah.
But you're never there only one time.
Yes.
And that's the problem.
Because you're not going to repeat it, because.
No. So the training cycle can't be the same if you come to me at 22 and want to be strong versus if you come to me at 12.
Exactly.
It can't.
Yes.
It can't be the same if you come to me at 32 instead of 22. So all of these factors are chronological and also, genetic as far as how you're built. I mean, you can train your ass off. There's only going to be a handful of guys every fucking generation that can deadlift 900. I don't give a shit who you are or how hard you train. I mean, you and I busted our ass to pull 8 and we were never going to see 9.
Yeah.
Mostly because we're 6'2".
Yes.
But the point, you get our point.
No, there's your genetic potential, right? And who determines what that is? You know what I'm saying? So
that shouldn't be a limiting factor.
It shouldn't. I don't think it should be, but it is.
But it is. And I don't think anybody ever has all of the factors together long enough to really even see their genetic potential anyway.
That exactly.
So be smarter and get as good as you can, but know that there is a limit to how much your body will adapt.
Yes.
And that's the issue. And you have to play around with that. And I think the closer you get to your adaptive ceiling limit, the more variability and the more dead arrow you need to be on what you're doing. And the more you start to not understand things, is the shorter your career. And that's why that 3-peg stool is so important, because lasting a long time starts to get you to understand those variables.